there's an accident that happens, right? Somebody claims, oh yeah, oh my God, I broke my neck. I was not able to go to work. So 6 months of wages were gone. So I'm going to sue you for $1 million. That's the kind of thing that happens so frequently. For us, an AI can capture, and it's dispassionate, obviously, but it very clearly tells what actually transpired. So we prevent these kind of frauds.
Welcome, Abdul. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to what you're doing at DisplayRide and RoadData.AI. Before we start, for our listeners who may not be familiar with your work, can you give us a quick, simple introduction to DisplayRide and what problem you solve for the mobility world?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, Roman. Appreciate the opportunity. Well, DisplayRide was founded around making things safer for especially the gig economy. By gig economy, I mean generally people who basically are not full-time employees but engaged, especially around like rideshare. We were founded to essentially address the problem around safety in the gig mobility segment, which was mostly focused around rideshare. So rideshare drivers, especially had a lot of problems around safety. And that could mean anything from, bad driving to genuine issues, fighting and so on and so forth, to frankly, a lot of false complaints. So what it meant was everybody literally were kind of impacted by that negatively, right? If there was a bad, if the driver was rude or whatever, right? So then the whole experience is down. Rideshare company gets impacted, and so on and so forth. On the flip side, there were lots of incidents about false complaints, right? Where the riders alleged that the driver was, inappropriate, drove very dangerously, things of that sort. And in either case, right, there was no proper way to figure out who was being truthful, right? Unless there was there was some kind of a consequence, like, an accident or something. So unfortunately, that's not the way to go, right? You don't let an accident happen to figure out what went wrong. So our goal was trying to essentially prevent those kind of things, right? So what we did was we at DisplayRide, we tried leveraging technology, existing technology, and use a lot of AI to essentially monitor basically every ride and make it really simple and essentially make the driver feel safe as well as the passenger feel safe and ultimately make sure that the entire ride was pleasant. So that was sort of the genesis for our company. So since then we expanded way beyond rideshare, of course, like I said, the entire gig economy, whether it's non-emergency medical transport, whether it's just trucks, delivering material from one place to another, to schools, to driving schools, school buses. So similar problems exist across the gamut. So yeah, so that's what we are focused on, and we went ahead. As we did that, we also are collecting a lot of data as part of delivering the safety, because we need to check out the road conditions, monitor for bad driving, look at accidents, things of that sort for proof and all this sort. But we then discovered that the data that we were gathering was extremely useful in a variety of segments, market opportunities, especially the fact that it could solve a lot of problems that were not solvable because we are able to see. We literally have eyes on the road, and we are essentially uploading all that information in real time to the cloud. So we were able to figure out a lot of problems in different segments, whether it's insurance, public safety, city planning, marketing, advertising, and so on and so forth. So that kind of information is extremely valuable, and we try to monetize that as well.
Right. And what is the biggest change you see happening right now in the mobility safety world?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the problems continue to exist, right? Despite all these things, and despite the huge impact, the cost of safety, we are still continuing to see a huge amount of safety incidents. And, I think it's been covered pretty extensively in all the media as well. So we continue to see that, but what we have tried to do is essentially, we've adapted a philosophy of preventing such incidents, not monitoring it and, then sort of documenting it, but being more proactive, right? So we've introduced a lot of features which will kind of preempt or potentially prevent such kind of incidents. And I think so, that kind of thing. The shift is more about prevention as opposed to documentation, which was what was earlier. And that means, again, it's a good thing, right? It's better to prevent an accident or an incident rather than let it happen. So that's what we are trying to do. And in the context of market, I think there is a greater awareness, obviously, right? Because at least in the United States, right, there's a lot of insurance impact. It's going up and all those kind of things. So we're trying to, there's a greater awareness, and so we are trying to address that. Yeah.
You also created RoadData.AI to analyze the road intelligence data. How do you balance the need to collect all that data with the need to keep drivers and riders' privacy safe? That seems like a very big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a good question. With regards to the data that we gather, obviously we are gathering video and audio footage from over the road as well as inside the vehicle, because we kind of monitor what happens within the vehicle, and all this stuff. But the data that we are using, we're leveraging for RoadData.AI is basically the video data from the road facing data. And so there is less of a privacy concerns there, right? Because it's public data, literally. And we try to obviously not have any information about the drivers and so on and so forth, right? So we're just collecting and compiling the data independent of any kind of association with who collected it and things of that sort. Yeah. So we privacy is absolutely not. You're absolutely right. Privacy matters a lot, but we are not. We're not violating its issues.
That brings us to the operation side of the business. You have a great product, but scaling a hardware and a software company is a lot of hard work. What is the biggest operational challenge or opportunity that you are focused on right now? Is it proving ROI to different buyers, or is it the cost of supporting and replacing all the hardware?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Our business model depends on a piece of hardware as well, right? So we do have cameras and so on, which we need to sell as part of our solution. We're using a huge AI layer on top of the hardware itself, obviously. Yeah, I mean, the logistics obviously is there, right? I mean, we have to ship the unit and things of that sort, but that's not really particularly a challenge. The hardware is extremely stable, so we've not found any issues about that. In regards to ROI, so one of the main, I think, our sort of philosophies has been trying to make it affordable as well. So in addition to delivering a lot of technology, we're trying to make it useful. We are not like a generic dash cam company. What we have strived to do, at least, is try to address the problems, whether it's a ride share, whether it's a driving school, whether it's medical transport. Each one has somewhat unique issues, really. And what we try to do is try to make it, value added for that particular segment, right? And we have been very mindful about the cost and things of that sort, right? So we've actually kept, because our goal is to be literally proliferate across the entire market space, right? So we have kind of literally foregone some profit, I suppose. But on the flip side, we have got a great deal of organic growth because people see the value. It's much more valuable. It's first of all, the product is designed to help them in a context that they understand. There are a lot of very peculiar things that happen in the context of rideshare, happens in context of driving schools, school buses. All of them have slightly different areas. I mean, even though at a higher level, yeah, safety and those kind of things matter, but there are other elements that really I think also matter, and there's a nuance to that. So when we sell our products, it resonates with them, right? So it makes sense. And then we are offering it at a reasonable price, which is not really, we could probably get a little more, but we try to offer it at a very reasonable price. So that kind of amplifies the value for these guys. So I think we have got, and like I said, most of our sales has been organic growth because people generally, it resonates with them, it helps them, it's protecting, and we are in a very, in a society which is very, liability conscious, right? So there is a fear around that. So we try to alleviate that by making sure that we give them that reassurance. And at the same time, one of the things we have managed to do is most of the areas that we fill are extremely, I wouldn't say they're technically very savvy. So we have made a deliberate attempt to design a product so it's very, very simple to use, right? So they didn't really need to know about a technology or about analytics and things like that. So we have leveraged a lot of AI to, kind of manage this whole offering in a way that is more like it's almost like a human is sort of managing it for on behalf, right? So, for example, for a driver, we have we're not selling like a camera system with features and so on. Instead, what we have positioned it as, hey, there's a virtual partner, a virtual co-driver next to you, and he's going to take care of you. Meaning to say, he's going to help you, he's going to guide you, he's going to take care of you if there's an incident, those kind of things. You know what I mean? So people feel reassured, and so we have tried to even for fleets and so on and so forth. These guys, again, we don't want them to manage this huge portal and all these analytics and so on. They're mostly interested in, like, hey, how's my fleet doing? Are there any issues? Does any of my uh, vehicles need maintenance or any problem? So they're trying to be, it's almost like somebody else. It's been outsourced to somebody else, and that is how our solution is manifested. It's almost like a virtual person managing for them without having to understand features and all this stuff. They just want their problems to be addressed, alerts and things like that.
That is great. You've explained so much in such a short amount of time. Like, I have one question. If you had a magic wand that could fix one thing in your business that is slowing down your growth right now, what would that one thing be and why?
I mean, so for us, right? So the problem is, I think, the fragmentation of the market, which is more difficult, is extremely difficult, right? So the gig economy, in broadly, that we and the gig economy means anywhere from rideshare, like I said, to different areas with driving schools, non-emergency transport, delivery, all these things, right? The market generally is quite fragmented. You see, because people, because that's the nature of the gig economy, right? I'm doing a gig. I'm not fully employed. I'm just doing something for a short time, and it does pay my bills or whatever, for whatever reason they do, right? So it's a pretty fragmented market, and to reach the market is become, it becomes expensive, right? So we have to be very creative in how we reach them, and without spending a lot of resources on that, right? So that's been, I think, the bigger thing, the biggest challenge for us, because I think what we have managed to be able to do is really, like I said, realize, give them a value added thing. So it resonates. I don't think anybody questions us about why they need a product and stuff like that. At least, the target segment. But getting to them is a bigger issue, especially in a market space where, you have many solutions. People are inundated with information, right? So, and like I said, a lot of them are not technically savvy and things like that. They don't know how to navigate it, right? Because everybody claims the same thing, right? So how do you kind of reach out to them? Is It's not easy. We've been fortunate in the sense that we've got a lot of organic growth, because if there's a person with a similar business who tells you, like, hey, I want to do something like this, it's really helping me, that's far more credible. So one of the things we've tried to do is get these kind of testimonials and sort of put it out there, so people can, it's more authentic, and also obviously more credible.
Word of mouth is always the best form of advertising.
Yeah, exactly. It's more credible and things like that. But to your point, yeah, to reach a very fragmented market is a extremely big challenge, especially since we have such a massive opportunity, but yeah, reaching them is not easy.
And how big is the team out in DisplayRide at the moment?
So yeah, we are a pretty small team. We have about 10, 15 people. But again, we are an AI first company, which means we are leveraging AI for pretty much everything as much as we possibly can with some oversight. So pretty much our team is just sort of doing an oversight, to the AI stuff. We are using Google extensively, all these tools, right? Whether it's marketing, press releases, throughout the entire life cycle of our company, right? Every aspect we are leveraging AI to the hilt. But clearly, AI is not, I mean, you can't just completely, rely on it, so to speak. So we still need to have insights and oversight, so to speak, to figure that out. But yeah, we are moving really fast. For example, um, our data that we collect from the roads, the AI is extremely fast in figuring out who can basically dissect those imagery and tell, hey, there's an accident here, or there's fallen tree. The image recognition is extraordinary. But beyond that, at a higher level, it's able to sort of check for patterns and things like that. So it can, for example, say, hey, this particular road, this particular thing at between 9 and 10 a.m. in the morning is really congested, that kind of stuff. So that information is extremely valuable for city planning guys, for example. Right? I mean, there are many, many elements. For example, for insurers, for example, even in the context of ride sharing and others, currently we are using AI to detect what really transpired, like this is an incident of sorts, like an accident or whatever. It tells very clearly what happened outside, what happened inside the vehicle, and again, other elements we capture, which is how fast they were traveling, where they're traveling. And that's very, very important because you're having a very credible source of what transpired. You see, without somebody having to do an investigation and all that stuff, it tells you within a matter of seconds, like, hey, this the driver was sleepy and he hit somebody, and the passenger in the back was thrown in the vehicle. Those kind of elements are extremely important, just so your readership can understand. All those things matter because there's a lot of fraud and other things that happen today. So for example, there's an accident that happens, right? Somebody claims, oh yeah, oh my god, I broke my neck, I can't go to I was not able to go to work, so 6 months of wages were gone, so I'm going to sue you for $1 million. That's the kind of thing that happens so frequently. So for us, an AI can captures, and it's dispassionate obviously, but it very clearly tells what actually transpired. So we prevent this kind of frauds at the same time expediting everything and in a very credible fashion. Yeah. So lots. And all that is done by AI in matter of seconds. So for in the life cycle of an insurance company, for example, if there's an accident, there's a claim, there's a process, it takes days and we can do it literally in minutes.
That's true. That's true. I got into an accident a few months back and it actually took a few months because of how slow everything was. And my car was actually parked on the side of the road.
Exactly, and they have to investigate and all these things. So we encrypt all our data and all those kind of things, right? So there's no such issue. I mean, there's some degree of credibility and stuff like that. But obviously, at this initial stages, there is still. I mean, there'll be some oversight. But the point of the matter is, what took, like you said, weeks probably or months even to figure out. Okay, this is definitively what transpired, right? Come to that conclusion probably took days of work, of human work, right?
Yeah.
So now you're hiring a person and so much effort, and you have thousands of these kind of claims. Now you're reducing 2 days of work, for example, into a matter of 1 minute. So you can see the productivity gains. At the same time, it's more credible because when you talk to people and stuff, there's always this, a degree of subjectivity and explanation and things like that. So yeah, we're
Yes,
transforming.
absolutely. Oh, this has been great so far. I just have like one more question.
Please.
Where is DisplayRide now in terms of yearly revenue, and where would you like to be in 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so we're I would say less than $5 million at the moment, but that's because we've spent most of our time to get a product market fit. And given that we are addressing many market segments, we had to tweak it a little bit to resonate, right? So we have spent most of the time there as opposed to, putting it out there and of course we have thousands of drivers using our solutions across the country and now in Canada as well. But and we can be global, right? So our product is certified to work across around the world. So, but the thing is, we have strived to make a more solid product. But at the moment, once like I said, we have managed to, I think, hit a product market fit. And I mean, we've gotten product of the year a couple of years and stuff like that. So where we are now is we're going to scale. We're trying to get to a sort of hopefully an exponential growth. So, next year, and again, the other aspect to our product is, this road data that we're compiling, collecting, and curating, right? So what has happened there is we've just created like an MVP on the road data side. That is an entirely new market, which is massive, and we have not even sort of literally bought it because like I said, everybody from public safety to police to insurance companies to a lot of element, it can be used in different areas, and that can literally multiply our revenues once we get to it, right? So yeah, and then the other thing we are trying to do is the data that we're collecting from our cameras systems, we're trying to obviously monetize that. But once we monetize it more, what we are trying to do is trying to create this flywheel effect, you know, because they can subsidize the cameras. Like you said, yeah, there's a hardware component to it and there is a cost involved, right? So if you make it even free, literally, let's say you make it free, everybody and their brother is going to buy it, right? I mean, literally, hey, what does it matter? Because it's valuable and it's free. Hey, cool. So in fact, the more data that we are gathering, we can subsidize more to the point of it being almost free. And to the point, and furthermore, we can go one step further. And if you're driving, and by the way, a lot of the people who are using our solutions drive on an average of 200 miles, 300 miles a day. Yeah. So they're collecting enormous amounts of data, as you can imagine, right? First of all.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are trying to do is, if we get to a level where they're collecting huge amounts of data and we can monetize the data, we may be able to even incentivize them. Like, hey, you get some money. So from becoming a cost, it's becoming a revenue source for these guys, and they need it anyway for the safety and others. So you see what I'm saying? So that creates a flywheel effect, and we are hoping that could, you know, uh, dramatically shift our revenue opportunity, right? Because now we're just selling a solution to a very limited sort of marketplace. But then, as more people buy it, and then we develop this revenue stream, and then we kind of create a flywheel effect, then more and more people will buy it necessarily.
Wow. Well, thank you, Abdul. This has been fantastic. Your insights are exactly what our audience would have loved to hear, and it's really helpful. Like, do you have any questions for us today?
No, I mean, I wish you all the very best. Obviously, I think you indicated that you're targeting a lot of people who are setting up startups and things like that, starting their journeys, right? So obviously, it's quite amazing. One thing I think is to have an open mind, and I think as you discover, you realize, you cannot always read the market. I think is the big, feedback I would give. But uh, figuring out quickly what the market requires will probably require a lot of refinement to your products. And as long as you're open to it and not dictating, hey, this is how it's going to be, or trying to mold, that's when you create a lot of value, at the end of the day. And if you're open to it, you're able to modify it and, quickly deliver a product, and you can take on the big guys very easily as well, because you can deliver a cool value added.
I think me and my listeners, we would all love to get that advice and actually implement it in our life.
Yeah,
So thank
absolutely.
you so much.
You're very welcome. Take care, and let me know if you need any more information. People can feel free to reach out as well. Okay.